on page 190, the question tried now 5. If you have the book, please have that open. Page 190. Try it now 5. Okay, let's see the question first. So the question says a field currently contains 20 mint plants. Oops. And absent constraints, the number of plants would increase by 70% each year. Okay. Oops. So that's 70% per year. But the field can only support a maximum population of 300 plants. Okay, maximum of 300. Use the logistic model to predict the population in the next 3 years. Okay, so we're looking for population next 3 years. All right, so these are the informations we have, and using these informations, we are trying to solve. First of all, we'll try to model this. I mean, we know how does the logistic model look like. Now we'll try to use this information to set up the model. And then we'll try to solve it and find the population of this mint plant. I mean, find the number of mint plants the next 3 years. So what's the first thing we can do? What's the first thing comes into mind when you just eyeball this? What should you do first? You can volunteer the answer, or I can ask randomly from the participants list. You can see the information on your screen. We have 20 mint plants. The plants grow 70% per year. Each year, it grows by 70%. The environment we're talking about, it can only carry or sustain 300 mint plants. And we're looking for the number of mint plants in the next 3 years. So what should we do? This is a very good question, and it will definitely have a similar question in your exam as well. It's pretty similar to the question you'll have in your exam. So if you can eyeball it and see what's going on and kind of start in the right direction, I feel you'll end up in the you'll end up getting full credits for this problem. So what should we do?
Would we make an equation first?
Which equation?
Would it be using the y equals mx plus b? So then it would be y equals 0.7x plus 20.
Mx plus b. So you're saying that from the 70%, if I make it decimal, it will be, sorry, it will be 0.7. Yeah, from 70%, we can convert it to decimals and it will become 0.7. But how can you use it here?
Because that's the growth rate, and then it would be plus 20 because 20 is the starting amount.
20 is the starting amount, and it's the same as b if you just compare it with the equation, but M is not the growth rate.
Well, that's as far as I got.
So once again, it's really, really important to know the models first. So the first things you need is how does the model look like? And which model? Fortunately, your question actually has it, I guess in the last line, yeah, use the logistic model to predict the population in the next 3 years. So you can see the question itself says, use the logistic model. So that's one pressure off our shoulder. We don't need to think which model it could be. We actually know 3 models, starting from linear, oops, then we know exponential, right? And then we know logistic. So if it was not written, let's say the question had written model, rather find or predict the population in the next 3 years. So then your first job would have been to see which model fits the data. That is the first job you need to do. But for this particular problem, it's already given. So first of all, we'll solve this problem. Then I'll show how can you differentiate which model to choose if it's not written. If it's not written, which model we can use, we need to use, then you need to see and choose your model. But again, for this problem, it's given, so we'll start with logistic model. So the formula for the logistic model is Pn equals to, now who wants to volunteer this answer? Because you need to memorize it. That's the saddest part though. How does the model look like? But what it could be? What's the, yeah.
I'm not sure on the specifics, but don't you divide one number by a sequence of numbers?
No. My question is, what is your logistic model? How does it look like?
It's Pn equals Pn minus 1 plus R parentheses 1 minus Pn minus 1 over K parentheses Pn minus 1.
Right. Exactly. So this model looks like this. Minus 1 over K times Pn minus 1. So first of all, the logistic model looks like this. And you need to memorize how does the model look like. Because again, the calculation part is fairly easy if you just know how does this model look like. So this is the logistic model. And now we'll see what are the informations we have in our hands, which we can plug it back here and calculate the population. Okay, so we have R, which is 70%. And if we convert it to decimals, we'll get 0.70. We have the initial population, which is P naught, which is 20. And What about this 300? What's that? Anyone?
Is 300K?
And why?
I'm not sure why.
Okay, so again,
Oh,
yeah.
I was gonna say because when you divide something, it's like something per 300, but that wouldn't work. So never mind. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
So nothing is given here in units like per something. So that's not the right approach though. Anyway, good try. So once again, the most important thing, I'm repeating myself, is to understand what does this actually mean. If you don't understand what is this, what are these rather, then you will use it in a wrong place and you will have a different result, which will be wrong perhaps. So you need to understand what are these informations. So if the question says your initial population is this, or we started with this population or something like that, it could be rephrased using different words, then it should be your P naught. So whenever you can see the initial population is given, or they says that they started with this population, whatever that is, that would be your P naught. Anything with percentage will be your R. Often it will be said that it grows by this percent. So you can actually eyeball that from the question as well. If something grows by some percentage each year, that should be your growth rate. And if the question says the environment can hold up to this number of population, or it can sustain this number of population, or this number of population can survive in an environment, then that is your K. Any question after this? Because it's really, really important. If you just know the model which you can use, which you need to use, then I guess the most important thing is to identify your data and use it in the right place. Any question on how to find or how to differentiate this and use it in the right place? It's really, really important. Anyone? Any question from this? No questions? Again, you can unmute yourself because it's really difficult to eyeball on, or rather keep an eye on two screens at the same time as I'm writing. So if you see that I'm not responding, please unmute yourself. Okay. So looks like you don't have any question. Next, let's plug in the values. Let's plug in the values here and calculate next couple of years population. All right. So we know the population, the starting population, the initial population P naught, and we know the formula depends on the previous year's population. So what should we start with? What should be our N here? Which N should we start with?
Would it be 3 since that's the one we're trying to find?
So for 3, you need P2. Do you have P2? I mean the population on or after second year?
Oh, no, never mind. I was thinking of something else then.
So again, the question says find the next 3 years population. It doesn't say to find exactly P3.
So we would use P1.
Exactly. So we already have P0, and the question says find the next 3 years. So that means we are looking for P1, P2, and P3. Now, is the question clear? We are not really looking for P3 straight away. Again, that's another important thing. I guess understanding the question does half of your job. Probably more than half, if you just know the model. So that means if since we're looking for P1, we already know P0. Let's plug it here. So we want P1. So this will be P0 plus R times 1 minus P0 over K times P0. And we know these values. So P0 is 20, R is 0.7, 1 minus P0 is 20 over 300, because K is 300 and P0 is of course 20. Before we calculate this, any question on this equation? I just plugged in the values from the given informations, nothing else. Any question from this?
So this is the equation to find P1, right?
So we know the formula for Pn. We're looking for P1 now, so I've just plugged in n equals 1, nothing else. So
Okay.
if n is 1, then n minus 1 will be 0, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so now you can calculate it and find P1. What's P1, by the way? If you can use your calculator and solve it for me. I'm doing it by hand. You can cross-check your answer, because using the calculator in the right way is also required to get to the exact same result. Okay, so this would be 1 minus 20 over 300 would be 280 over 300 times 20. So if I use my calculator, 0.7 times 2.
Would it be 386.399
Which one?
for P1? Like the final answer?
386.99.
Yeah.
Okay, let me check. It doesn't look like though.
Oh, wait, no, I put in something wrong. Never mind.
Yeah, because it doesn't look like it should be this much. Since our initial population was 20, it shouldn't be this much. It should be somewhere close to 20. 386 looks way too much. Anyway, let's see. 20 divided by 300. So this is 13.067. And if I add this, I'll have 33.0 0.067. Since it's a population and I need to round it to the nearest full or whole number, what it should be? Should it be 33 or 34?
33.
And why?
If you round it, it's closer to 33 than it would be to 34.
Exactly, it's less than half, right? I'm talking about the value after the decimal. If it's greater or equal half, we take the next one. If it's less than half, we take the previous one. So it's 33. So P1 is 33. Any question before we move to P2?
I had a really quick question,
Yeah, yeah.
and you may have said this. Okay, so when it's like the equation below the yellow line, is that 280 divided by 300?
Yeah, I've just
Because I thought that was 20, but
1 minus 20 over 300 is 280 over 300. I've just modified it. I've just rewritten that, nothing else. You don't need to see that. 1 minus 20 over 300, if you just rewrite it, then it will become this.
Can
okay.
you explain a little bit how that works?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works either.
You don't need to do that, because for that I need to show you how to subtract fractions. It's all about subtracting fractions, as you can see.
So how should we have gone from 1 minus 20 over 300?
Just use your calculator. So first of all, divide 20 by 300. Then whatever you have, subtract it from 1.
Okay, thanks.
If I have enough time, once we are finished, I'll show how to do this. But you don't need this, to be honest. Since you can use your calculator, then just go for it.
I did that, and then I got a decimal. I don't know in an exam if I would be able to look at this decimal and know that it would be 280 over 300. I don't know if I did it wrong in my calculator or.
So just avoid it. Just do it from there. You don't need to go for that. As I said, just do it step by step. So first of all, you need to divide 20 by 300. Then we are subtracting that from 1. So whatever you have, once you divide 20 by 300, just write it. So if you divide 20 by 300, you'll have a 0.067. And then if we subtract it from 1, we get 1 minus 0.067, which is 0.933. Then we'll multiply it by 0.7 and 20. So 0.933 times 0.7 times 20. So 0.7 times 20 gives you 30.062. Now, does it make sense? Just do it step by step. When you plug it in the calculator, just make sure you are doing it in the right way. And my suggestion would be, if you are not confident enough, break it into several parts like I have done here. Is there anyone who is still confused how to get this? Because if you can't do this, you'll get a different result, which will, I guess, definitely reduce some points. Any questions on how to use your calculator? First of all, does it make sense? Does this make sense? Is there anyone who is still confused? How can we reach that?
I figured it out.
Sorry?
I figured it out.
Okay, great. If you have figured it out, I mean, if everyone has figured it out, if no one has any question, then find P2. And I'll give you 3 minutes for it. And your time starts now. We already have the answer, but I need to see, or you need to cross-check your work, how to actually reach that. You can actually see the answer, I guess, after the chapter is finished. It probably has the answer. But you need to see how can you reach that, reach to that using this particular equation, logistic model. So find P2 for me, and I'll check everyone's work. I'll ask you questions because you got no one had any questions, so that means you are already okay with this. So I'll ask questions one by one on how to do this. Find P2 using this given informations. Okay, I have 47. I don't really need the answer though. So yeah, I'll ask you a question since you have already calculated it. That means you know how to do it. That's good. Although your answer doesn't look right, that's not a problem as long as you're trying. Let me see the answer because I think I can see it at the back end of the chapter. Yeah, I can see the answer. Okay. So let me wait for a minute or so, and then I will start solving it because it takes time to calculate. Okay, Mary, can you tell me what should be the formula for P2?
Yes, so you replace, from our earlier equation, you replace 20 with the answer we got in this equation, so 33. So it goes 33 plus 0.7 in parentheses 1 minus 33 over 300 times 33.
Very good, very good. And if you're wondering, how did we get that? Jordan, can you tell me which formula have you used and how can we actually set up this equation? I can see you have the answer. So I assume you have already calculated it. Jordan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What was the question again?
So as Mary said, P2 should look like this. My question is, where did this equation come from?
It's the same equation we used for P1.
So this one?
Yeah, just with different values because we have different values for P2.
So what's our n on this equation for P2?
So n would be 1, wouldn't it?
So it's Pn on our left and Pn minus 1 on our right. So that means if we are calculating P2, n is 2. So we'll replace Pn minus 1 by P1, right? Because if n is 2, we can see n is 2 here. We're calculating P2. So Pn minus 1 would be P2 minus 1, which is P1. So we can actually replace this Pn minus 1 by P1. That's what we have done here. So that is P1, that is R 1 minus P1 over K times P1. Any question from this? Anyone? Okay, now let's do it this way. You have P3. Let me give you the data for P3. P3 is, I have the answer, 85. K is 300, of course, and R is 0.7. So using this information, calculate P4 for me. And you need to submit your work in the chat or in my email. Whole work, not the answer. You'll get a +1 in the next homework if you get it right. That's it. That's a bonus question for you. That's extra credit question. If you don't get it right, no worries. But if you get it right, you'll get a +1. That's a huge bonus. You'll get a +1 in homework 5. Obviously, if you don't get full credit on the next homework, you'll definitely get a +1. That means, for example, if you get 8 out of 10, adding this one will make it 9 out of 10. But if you somehow get more than 9 out of 10, I can't really add that, but whatever I can add up to 10, I mean, add up to the full credit, I'll definitely give you this extra credit if you just get it right this time. We can talk about this once we set up the next homework, but it's a +1 question. And you'll have 3 minutes for it. Your time starts now. I already have one answer. I don't need the answer. I need to see your work. So just show your work, take a picture of it, and send it in the chat here in Zoom or in my email, whichever you like. If you get it right, you will get a +1 in the next homework. If you don't get it right, no worries. You won't be penalized, but give it a try. Just cross-check yourself whether you are getting it or not. Okay? We have 2 more minutes.
To show our work in the chat, do you want us to just type out the equation we used?
No. Just take a picture of it and send it in the chat or even in my email, whichever you like. I need to see the entire work. The equation you're using, the values you're plugging in, and after you use your calculator, the final result as well.
Is there a way to submit a picture in the chat, or is this email the best way?
Sorry?
Is there a way to submit a picture in the chat?
Yeah, you can definitely submit a picture in the chat. But if you're struggling, you can send me my email.
And that number is 85, correct?
Yeah, let me have that open. Yeah, so P3 is 85. And of course, we are trying to calculate P4. I already have a couple of answers, so that's good. And what's the final result?
128.
So let's wait for 1 minute, one more minute, and then we can go for it. Okay, let's see. I only have 3 answers. So if you 3, okay, I have 4 to be honest. One more. So if you have less than full credit, anything less than full credit in the next homework, just let me know. I have your data, so, and all of you got it right, fortunately.
Mine's just taking a second to send. Is that okay?
Sorry?
I'm just like sending mine now. Is that okay? Like I
Oh,
just
sure, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so let's solve it. We are looking for P3, and the equation was, let me write the equation first. This might be helpful. Oh, I have a bunch of more answers. That's great. One, two, three, 4. Okay, cool. And you can see you guys are more involved in the class today. So this is a good practice because this is a boring class, to be honest. Maths is always boring. And I'm trying to make you involved more. So I guess this way you can earn some extra credit and you can contribute to the class as well. So I guess this might be done once, at least once every week, if you guys have no problems with this, right? We can do this and make our class more lively, perhaps. Okay. Oh, I have a picture from the mobile calculator. But the answer is wrong though. And the answer is wrong because you got the formula wrong. Anyway, let me show you how can you do that. So Pn is Pn minus 1 plus R times 1 minus Pn minus 1 over K times Pn minus 1, right? This is the formula we're going to use. And for this problem, we're looking for P4. That means Pn minus 1 would be P3 because n is 4, so n minus 1 would be 3, right? plus R. I'll not plug it right away. I'll plug the values in the next step. So this will be the equation we'll use. Now, if I plug in the values, P3 was, what was P3? 85. 85 plus R is 0.7. 1 minus 85 over 300 times 85. Okay, and if I use my calculator, let me do it step by step. This 1 minus 85 over 300 is 80. If you divide 85 by 300, it's 0.283. Okay, and if you, I'm showing all the steps so that it makes sense. 1 minus 0.283 is 1 minus 0.283 is 0.717. Now, if we multiply it by a 0.7 and 85, we get 42.6615. And if we add it with 85, we get 127.6615. And since it's more than half, 0.6 is more than 0.5, right? So we can round it to 120. Any question from this? I've tried to show all the possible steps so that you can see what's going on and how to do it. Any question from this? If you still have doubts, we can rediscuss it. I'm more than happy to do that. Anyone, any question? What are the takeaway from this problem? So, equation from class.
Yeah, mine just sent. My internet's not working very well.
Oh, okay. All right. So, what are the takeaways? Takeaway from this would be, first thing you need to see which model we have to use, which model fits the data. Second, understanding the notations. Understanding the notations. That means what's your P naught, what's your R, etc., etc. Then definitely use the right model to set up the equation. Next, we need to plug in the values into the right places. And last but not the least, use the calculator the right way. So if you can successfully do these steps, you should get full credit in all the exam questions, as most of you have done for this problem. That's a really, really good sign. That means we are in the right direction. So if you haven't got it right this time, don't get demoralized. You still have plenty of time. You have 7 days time precisely, because your next exam will be on Monday. So you can practice a lot of these. You can cross-check your work. If you want, you can show your work to me in my email and say, hey, just check my work, whether it looks right or not, and I'll do it for you, okay? If you have any question, just holler, just let me know. Okay, so we'll not go for the next example. We'll do it on Wednesday, and definitely you'll have your exam review on Friday. I'll post the exam review today, anytime before midnight today, hopefully by 5 p.m. Anyway, so we'll go for the next example the next time we meet. Now let's end today's discussion with how to see or how to choose the model. If we are given a question, how can we find or how can we choose which model fits the data? Is it the linear equation, the linear growth model? Is it the exponential growth model, or is it the logistic growth model? Is there anyone who can answer this? Even if you're wrong, just give it a try. How can you choose the model? What is the method you use when you eyeball the question? Because not always it will be written that use this model to predict the next couple of years population. Often you yourself need to find it. Anyone? Just give it a try. If it's not written, how do you find the model from the given data set?
Well, I know that with linear, it's growing by a certain amount each year, but with exponential and logistic, it's growing by a certain percentage each year.
Yeah, you're right. So you can choose between linear and exponential. Clearly, if you have R, the growth model, if you have a certain growth rate, that means if it's not really increasing or decreasing using the same pace, at the same pace, then you can say that it's not really linear. But you have R for both the exponential model and the logistic model. Now how to choose which model should you go for? If you have a certain growth rate, definitely you can say that it's not linear, but whether or not it's exponential, you need to look for more information, because it could be logistic as well. You have R in logistic model as well, right? What should you do? Anyone? Before we finish today? One thing you can eyeball and say is the carrying capacity, K. If the K is given, if carrying capacity is given, then it's logistic. Otherwise, you can say it's exponential, right? Okay, so let's meet on Wednesday. And before that, if you have any question, just let me know, okay? All right, see you guys on Wednesday. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Would it be easier to talk on here or through email? Because I do have a class coming up.
So let's do it in 1 minute. So you said you did the homework after the deadline or something like that?
Yeah, the very first one where you asked us to look at a model and explain. It was the very first one that was posted. I turned it in a couple days late.
So did you get penalized for that?
I think that I did.
Okay, let me check on that. And what about the next 3? Because we have 4 homeworks in total.
So